Hello, I'm Michael Chin, and let me tell you the tale of how my cousin's avarice at my wedding led to his eventual ruin. It's true what they say, sometimes the most dangerous adversary is the one who seems to have nothing left to lose. I was never the favored one in the Chin family. That title belonged to my cousin, Victor, with his Harvard MBA and his perfectly cut suits. While he graced the covers of finance magazines, I quietly immersed myself in learning the ins and outs of our family's traditional medicine business, an empire my grandfather had painstakingly built from the ground up. Chin Natural Remedies wasn't just another health supplement company. It had been a bridge between ancient Eastern medicine and contemporary wellness, offering unique herbs and formulas to clients worldwide for 3 generations. But Victor had different ideas. He believed the business was stuck in the past, something that needed to be reimagined. "Mike, you're wasting time on those old recipes," he'd say dismissively at family dinners. "The future is in synthetic drugs." If only he understood the value of those old recipes. I spent the next decade mastering every aspect of the business, from identifying rare herbs to understanding the intricate supply chains Grandpa had built across Asia. While Victor was striking flashy deals in Manhattan, I was traveling through remote Chinese villages, meeting the farmers who had been supplying our family for generations. Then I met Sarah, a biochemist who shared my vision of blending the old and new. We connected through late-night discussions on the properties of ancient plants and molecular science, and I fell in love with her, knowing she saw the value in our family's knowledge, something Victor had never grasped. Our wedding was meant to be a modest celebration of our love, a fusion of our cultures and families. But Victor had different plans. Just as Sarah and I shared our first dance, he interrupted with a loud clink of his glass. "I have an announcement," he proclaimed, pulling his girlfriend, Amanda, onto the stage. "We're engaged. And since we're all here," he got down on one knee, producing a diamond ring that made our wedding bands look insignificant. The crowd erupted in applause. My mother gave my hand a comforting squeeze, but I kept my composure. This was only the beginning. A week later, Grandpa called a family meeting. His health was failing, and Victor had managed to convince him that the company needed stronger leadership moving forward. "Michael," Grandpa said, his voice weaker than I'd ever heard, "Victor has some concerns about the company." Victor stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Our analysis shows a lot of inefficiencies in the old supply chain. We need to modernize, switch to synthetic options. The old methods are costing us millions." He showed charts and projections, all pointing to how my dedication to tradition was holding us back. What he didn't show was how those traditional methods had forged relationships with our suppliers and customers that spanned decades. And Victor continued, "Mike's wedding has left him in significant debt. How can he focus on the company's future when he's financially struggling?" I sat quietly, observing as Victor played his hand. He had orchestrated this moment, using Grandpa's concerns about the future of the business and my supposed financial troubles to his advantage. "There's a solution," Victor declared. "I'll take care of Mike's wedding debt if he signs over his shares and future inheritance rights. He can focus on the traditional side of things, and I'll handle modernizing the business." Grandpa looked at me, his eyes wary. He had already been convinced. "Maybe it's for the best, Michael. Victor has the business experience." I signed the papers without protest, watching Victor's smug smile grow with each signature. He thought he had claimed victory, taking the company, the inheritance, and the satisfaction of humiliating me at my own wedding. That night, as Sarah comforted me, pretending to mourn my lost inheritance, I thought about the true legacy Grandpa had left me, the one Victor would never understand. While Victor had been glued to spreadsheets, I had been uncovering secrets. While he was busy making deals in boardrooms, I was learning about hidden accounts and ancient contracts that dated back to our great-grandfather's era. Victor thought he had taken everything from me, but he had overlooked the most valuable lesson in traditional medicine. The most powerful ingredients are often the ones that can't be seen. The next morning, I made calls to contacts Victor didn't even know existed. By the time the day ended, he would learn that the quietest member of the family is often the one holding the real power. As the sun was barely up, I arrived at Chin Natural Remedies headquarters. Mr. Wu, the security guard who'd known me since childhood, gave me a nod as I entered. In the executive wing, I saw lights on in Victor's new office. I smiled, knowing he was likely basking in his supposed triumph. But while he focused on paperwork, he had forgotten something far more valuable: relationships. At 8 a.m., my phone buzzed, just as I expected. "Michael," Victor's voice trembled with panic. "What's going on?" "Our suppliers. They were all pulling out." "Are they?" I answered calmly, walking toward his office. How surprising. Inside, Victor was surrounded by ringing phones. Amanda sat on a leather couch, her engagement ring sparkling in the morning light. "Fix this," she demanded. "Let me explain something, cousin," I said softly, taking a seat. "Those contracts you had me sign yesterday, they were for the modern, documented side of the business. But our family's true strength lies in relationships that were never formalized." I pulled out an old leather-bound notebook, Grandpa's original supplier ledger. "While you were analyzing numbers, I was learning about trust. The farmers in the mountains, their families have supplied ours for generations based on nothing but mutual respect and oral agreements. And they only deal with someone who understands the old ways." Victor's face drained of color. "You're bluffing. We have contracts with shell companies that I set up years ago." I finished his sentence. "Every major supplier of our core ingredients deals exclusively with me. The contracts you have? They're with holding companies that expire." I checked my watch. "Right about now." As if on cue, his computer chimed with a flood of emails, cancellations, withdrawals, and dissolutions. "You can't do this." Amanda jumped to her feet, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. "Victor owns the company now," I corrected her. "He owns the building, the licenses, the patents, the official documents. But a traditional medicine company without traditional medicine is just an empty shell." I opened my laptop and showed them live updates from our inventory system. Shipments from our suppliers were now being redirected to my new company, Legacy Chin Herbales. I had spent years preparing for this moment, building relationships and laying the groundwork for when Victor would finally reveal his true nature. Victor immediately grabbed his phone. "I'm calling Grandpa." "He's already with me," I replied calmly. "Did you honestly believe he didn't know what you were planning? Who do you think taught me about the hidden accounts?" Through the glass walls, I could see the employees gathering, murmuring as their systems updated to reflect the massive shifts in inventory. Victor's fingers flew across his keyboard, desperately trying to access accounts that no longer existed. "You have two options," I said, maintaining my composure. "Option 1. I walk away with our suppliers, the authentic formulas, and the true legacy of the family. You can keep the building and try to explain to the shareholders why Chin Natural Remedies is suddenly incapable of producing any remedies." Victor, his confidence starting to fade, whispered, "Option 2 is you hand over your shares to Grandpa's trust. I become the CEO, you get a consulting fee to save face, and we never speak of this again. Oh, and you'll need to reschedule your wedding. Some dates, cousin, are sacred." The next few hours were a blur of lawyers, papers, and Victor's increasingly frantic attempts to fix his position. By the afternoon, I was sitting in my new office, holding Grandpa's old notebook. Mom called, concerned about the state of family harmony. "Did it have to end this way?" she asked, her voice tinged with sadness. "Victor left me no choice," I replied. "He thought the company was about profits and paperwork. He forgot that it was built on trust and tradition." The aftermath of that day transformed Chin Natural Remedies. Under my leadership, we grew in a sustainable way, honoring both tradition and innovation. Victor, meanwhile, took a consulting job in Shanghai, far from any real power. Amanda ended her engagement once the trust funds vanished. Sarah and I celebrated our first anniversary by visiting our suppliers in the mountains, drinking tea with families who had known Grandpa. "One thing your cousin never understood," an old farmer said to me, "is that true wealth grows slowly, like the rarest herbs." Last week, I received an invitation to speak at a conference about sustainable business practices. The topic? Honoring tradition in modern business. I accepted, smiling to myself as I thought about how the most powerful strategies are often the quietest ones. 2 years had passed since that fateful morning in Victor's office. Chin Natural Remedies not only survived but flourished in ways my cousin never expected. But the story doesn't end there. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come long after the battle is won. A month ago, Victor arrived at my office, unannounced. He was different, humble. Gone were the expensive suits, replaced by casual attire, and his Harvard confidence had dissipated. He had spent the last 2 years in Shanghai, supposedly consulting but really learning what I had known all along, the real value of our family's legacy. "I understand now," he said quietly, standing near the window where Grandpa's herbs were carefully growing in specialized containers. I thought I knew everything about business with my MBA, but I didn't know anything about our real business. I poured him a cup of tea, the same blend Grandpa used to serve during our lessons. It's never too late to learn, Victor. What came next surprised even me. Victor pulled out a weathered notebook, his own collection of observations from his time in Shanghai. I've been visiting the farms, he admitted, learning from the people I once dismissed. I was wrong. That evening, over dinner with Sarah, I made a decision that would astonish our entire family. The next morning, I called for a board meeting. I'm creating a new division, I announced. Traditional knowledge integration, and I'm appointing Victor to lead it. The room buzzed with whispers. Victor, who had been invited without knowing why, was stunned. But I looked at him and said, family businesses aren't just about profit. They're about legacy, passing down knowledge through generations. You've learned that lesson the hard way. And now, that makes you more valuable than ever. The following months saw unexpected changes. Victor threw himself into his new role with the same intensity he once used for hostile takeovers. But now, his business acumen was used to protect and elevate our traditional knowledge, not destroy it. Sarah and I welcomed our first child, a daughter named Rose, after a healing flower central to one of our most cherished formulas. Victor's first major project was developing a sustainable cultivation program for that flower, ensuring it would be available for generations to come. Grandpa, now in better health thanks to less stress and our best formulas, often sits in his old office, watching his grandsons work together rather than against each other. Balance, he says with a smile. In medicine and in life, balance is everything. Last week, we opened the Chin Center for Traditional Medicine Research, a cutting-edge facility that combines modern science with ancient wisdom. Victor and I cut the ribbon together, and the press called it a heartwarming family reconciliation. But those who knew our story understood that it was so much more than that. It was about realizing that true power doesn't lie in defeating your enemies, but in turning them into allies. Amanda occasionally appears in society pages now, married to a tech entrepreneur. She sent a congratulatory note when a center opened, adding a postscript. I guess some traditions are worth keeping after all. As I sit in my office today, watching Victor teach his own son how to identify herbs in our rooftop garden, I reflect on cycles of revenge and redemption. Sometimes the true victory isn't in defeating your enemy, but in helping them become who they were meant to be all along. The company continues to grow, but more importantly, our family has healed. The quiet power I once used for revenge now serves a greater purpose, building a legacy that honors both tradition and progress. Yesterday, Sarah found our daughter in Grandpa's old office, carefully flipping through his supplier journal. I want to learn everything, Rose declared, her tiny fingers tracing the ancient characters. Victor and I exchanged a look, remembering our own journeys. The most powerful medicine, I told her, repeating Grandpa's words, isn't in the herbs themselves. It's in understanding when to heal and when to harm. And so our story continues, not as a tale of revenge, but as a lesson in transformation. Victor's betrayal at my wedding didn't end with his downfall. It ended with his redemption. After all, in both traditional medicine and family business, the goal isn't just to cure the symptoms. It's to restore balance to the whole system. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.